Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Monday, January 19th. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for joining us for January, our month of orientation. As a little reminder, this month is devoted to listening within, noticing what's going on inside of us, and aligning with our true selves, our authentic selves, before we do anything else. I'm going to say that again. Before we do anything else, before we decide on anything, before we try to fix something in ourselves or in someone else, especially in someone else, or if we're striving to accomplish a goal that we think that's something we should do or must do or have to do. Before we do any of that, let's go within, listen to our authentic selves, notice what's alive in us, and align with our true selves.
You brought up something there that I just don't want us to pass over. Fixing something in somebody else.
I didn't want to get bogged down with that,
We
but I'm
can't
glad
do
you're
that.
mentioning that. Yes.
We can't do that. We can, quote unquote, fix our response, like we can have a reaction and then learn to respond with intention, but we can't fix anyone else.
No, we can't. And we shouldn't even try. That leads to resentment. We see that so much in our coaching practice, especially in couples. One half of the couple will want to try to fix the other half of the couple, and the resentment is off the charts.
Well, we've had it in our own lives.
That's true too.
Where we would hope that someone might show up differently and then they don't. And then if we try to fix them, but if it's not coming from within them, if they haven't made the decision that they want to show up differently, it will never change. We'll just keep going around and around and around, which is our theme for today. The theme that we have for today is our lives speak to us.
And they're always speaking to us.
And they're always giving us feedback. We're not always listening. We're not always recognizing. When you think of orientation, listening, noticing, and aligning before we make a decision, before we get into that problem-solving fix-it mode, before we strive, we need to recognize if we can sit back and look at what our life is showing us, it is giving us feedback. A very simple example would be, I've lived this, so it's going to be my lived experience here. I had certain settings where I didn't have boundaries at all. I think back now, and I did have boundaries in some settings, but not in every setting. It was like certain settings, I didn't have boundaries. And my life would give me the feedback that I was not showing up from a healthy boundary place. And the feedback would be stress, headaches, stress in my shoulders, feeling that knot in my stomach, doing things that I dreaded doing, but I just did them anyway. And I didn't feel good in that situation. It didn't feel peaceful. Well, that was my life giving me feedback. Now, I didn't understand the feedback. I would do different things. Like I would tell myself that I should be able to do these things, or I should want to do these things. What was wrong with me because I didn't want to do these things? I would have this inner critic going on. So if I'm constantly in inner critic mode, well, that's feedback. Also, the physical symptoms, well, that's feedback. We get into life and we have blind spots and we just keep going and we don't recognize our life is giving us feedback all along. And the tragedy here is we don't understand the feedback until we do.
I would say that slightly differently, until we give ourselves permission to listen to the feedback. And I'm saying that because everyone we've met, everyone we've worked with in our coaching practice, if you help them take away the limitations of what they think they should do or how they should show up, all the deciding, fixing, or striving, if you take all that away, take away all the obstacles, say money's no object, you could do whatever you want, everybody seems to know exactly what their heart wants them to do. But they put so many layers and barriers and excuses and reasonings about why they can't follow their hearts. Have you noticed that like I have?
Yes, I have noticed that.
And would you say the same was true for you? I know it's been true for me, where I always knew in my heart exactly what I wished I could do, but then I would have so many reasons why that wasn't an option.
My experience was a little different, and it's what I'm working on in my personal coaching. So Ada and I have a mentor that we work with, and we've worked with her for years, and she's helping me to see if I thought something was insurmountable or was never going to be able to be solved, I would just move through it. And I know that's true. So my experience is different than yours, Ada. I knew I didn't feel peaceful, but I honestly have to say that I had never experienced peace. So all I could think about, and I didn't have a tragic life, but I still didn't feel peaceful inside. Some people have to live through horrific tragedies. I didn't. It was all inside of me. I know that I didn't feel peaceful, but I had never felt that inner sense of peace. So then I didn't always know. I knew I wasn't maybe happy, or I knew that things didn't feel good, but I didn't know that there was a different way. I didn't know that you could wake up in the morning and feel calm and peaceful. I thought I had generalized anxiety disorder, actually.
I know you've mentioned that before to me.
Yeah, I was like, okay, no, this is just me. But no, now this is not me. I don't have generalized anxiety disorder.
No, your anxiety was telling you something's wrong. And that was your life speaking to you.
That was my life speaking to me, but I couldn't recognize it. And when we say, and what we're teaching today is that orientation begins when I recognize that my life has been giving me feedback all along. I just thought, well, this was life. Those are two different experiences, and I'm sure our listening audience falls in either category or somewhere in between. Because if you've just lived your life the same way every day from the time you were little, and you didn't do some healing work, you didn't get therapy, counseling, coaching, some sort of help, you keep on going. I was talking with my friend over the weekend, and she's done a lot of work, and I always just love talking with her because we always talk about these sorts of things that we're talking about on the podcast. And her therapist told her that 75% of people do not do their healing work, do not take the time or even know to take the time to recognize that life doesn't always have to be the same, that we can heal, that we can grow, and we don't have to show up from our wounds. I'm so thankful that I was able to recognize that and start doing the work. I still have a lot of work to do, and I know you feel the same way. We both feel very fortunate. That's why we like to have this podcast, so that people understand we don't have to stay stuck. We don't have to live with anxiety all day, every day. We can come from a peaceful place. We don't have to live with depression all day, every day. We can come from a place of peace. We don't have to live in chaos all day, every day. Inner chaos is what I'm referring to. We can find peace, but peace doesn't happen without intention.
So, our intention for today is a curiosity question. What feedback is my life giving me? What feedback is my life giving me? Could be thoughts, could be feelings. What is your life telling you? Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.